Building storytelling level 2. That's the core of what we are doing right now in this entire lecture. We will build a story, a real story together. And we will use a tool that automates the process partly, so you won't be making any mistakes and you will get a practical thing in your hands at the end of this lecture. So let's dig into what makes a great storytelling level 2. Let's watch case studies, let's see how other people are doing and understand how the building blocks work together. For a quick reminder, we are not in level 0, we are not in level 1, we are building meta stories in level 2. Let's watch again the Pepsi case and let me go through 6 different steps that make that story.
We need shelter, food, light.
Ang mga grupo ay nag-iiyakan sa gabi, mahirap makabili ng petrolyo.
Ngayon, unti-unti ko na mayroon ng hope sa dami nung tumutulong sa amin, and then the light, the scam, andito na po. Hawak-hawak ko na po.
I'm pretty sure you now recognize the structure that Pepsi used to talk about their project. And it was very specific. I went from the problem to the specifics of it, then onto the solution, then the how it works, a proof it actually worked, and finally the brand Pepsi. You didn't see Pepsi at the very beginning. You saw Pepsi mostly at the end of the case study because we wanted to show the results before bringing the brand. There are actually 3 types of cases which use this meta story structure. The first one is, I would call it a classic case study, which means you had a good project, but nothing special. It was well done, it was efficient, but you have no specific emotional connection. It wasn't a very complex project, and that's all good. Probably 80% of the projects will fall into this category of classic. A second type of case studies are called data-driven, in the sense where the numbers, the structure, the infrastructure you build, the strategy behind it is more interesting. So data-driven case studies usually concern a lot of complex technological projects or the ones that require a lot of levels of decisions. And finally, you have a third type of cases, which are called emotional. And these emotional case studies are trying to touch the heart of people because the project itself really changed the life of people at a core level. But these 3 types of case studies are not mixed. You either go for a classic case study or for a data-driven one or an emotional one. So let's see what are the differences between them and what sort of production differences they also have. This particular case study was done in Ireland, in Northern Ireland to be precise. And you remember that the Protestant and Catholic have been fighting for years there, and their problem was how do we make students interested in this particular story? Can they understand it, and can they understand the conflict that still persists in this region while they didn't live it themselves? So let's watch the case, and once again I will go through the structure while we watch it.
Teaching Divided Histories was a unique opportunity to look at the troubles in Northern Ireland. It's a time to allow the students to focus on what they can do in the future.
We do tackle the controversial issues and teach pupils about their own history.
There was more people. I felt under immense pressure. I don't like it. More opinions. It was nerve-wracking.
I think recognise that there is a need for support in teaching about issues that could be controversial or events that could be controversial.
I think this is a pretty amazing and powerful case study. It's very emotional. This is why the music, as you heard, is very powerful. And we do not have a voiceover. We do not have someone telling the story on top of that. In fact, the titles act as a very big emotional hook. You read, you understand with the images, which are a support on top of that. And you have a very, very strict and strong proof it works. You've seen that the project not only stimulated students in this particular area of Northern Ireland, but also started to spill over and went up to South Africa with the apartheid problem that is very similar to that one, divided communities. Let's go through another case study and see what is the difference between the two. The second case study is very different. You see, it's more data-driven in the sense where we want to understand an investment policy in Brussels in that case, and we have very much from the start, the exposure of the problem focuses on the big numbers. How many jobs could we expect in this design industry, creative industry in Belgium? We were lagging behind other countries, and we do not have a big emotional connection to that case. In fact, we are showing the duration of the project. It's probably not as much data-driven as it is a classic case study, because you do not remember the entire details of it, but you remember that something has been done in Belgium, which is important, and you want to investigate a little bit more of information if you're interested in the design market and design investment policy of Brussels and Belgium. So we have a second type of case I would call classic. In that case, we had only titles on screen. You've seen it, the animation of titles is pretty well done, so we see that on top of images, but we do not have a voiceover on top of that. Actually, we could have a voiceover for this one that wouldn't disturb you emotionally, because you're not having any connection with the struggle of someone. On the contrary of the first case study that was mostly about how young human beings are facing very concrete challenges. Now let's watch a third one, which in that case is completely data-driven. We are talking in that case about a massive problem in Finland. After the crisis in Finland, economic crisis, they had to restart their industries. And if you remember that period of time, 6-7 years ago, we had Nokia at the same time, which was one of the largest companies in Finland, that had to go bankrupt. They've been bought by Microsoft and then went bankrupt. And so for Finland, that was a very big problem. They needed to stimulate innovation in their entire country by not betting anymore on big giants. So this data-driven case study is retelling the story of a huge strategy of investment over 6 cities, the 6 ICA cities. And you will see that it's much more taxing to follow, it's more technical, but if you're interested in strategies of investment, this is a golden nugget. You want to see that, and still in less than 3 minutes, you will understand everything there is to know about this particular investment strategy.
In 2011, Finland was struggling with an economic recession and increasing unemployment. The authorities were particularly concerned about the future of export companies in the technology sector. Finnish companies would make a difference if they could access a larger local customer base. And with the 6 largest Finnish cities accounting for 30% of the country's inhabitants, growth would resume by helping companies develop the same service for the 6 cities at once. So in 2014, they launched together a funding strategy to align their efforts of urban development and offer just such a market to their companies, the 6 Acre strategy. Entrepreneurs, R&D organizations and citizens work together to create new services and use the cities as a platform for testing their products with 1.6 million potential customers. The structure of financing demands that all the projects involve at least 2 operators from the 6 cities area, and a number of supporting services have been developed to push forward innovation. For instance, to allow digital growth, the 6 cities have opened up and harmonized their public data, allowing companies to tap into this wealth of information and develop new profitable services. Circular economy hubs are open to stimulate innovative business models and research in sustainable development. And the public sector also tests ways to make the life of its citizens easier, with the city of Espoo grouping several public services under the same roof in a shopping mall to simplify its interaction with the public. Some projects under 6 Acre have gathered international attention, such as the Sojoa self-driving electric bus, which is currently in testing in 3 of the 6 cities amid real road traffic. Sojoa benefits from a unique Finnish regulation that allows real traffic testing conditions. By jointly selecting the projects to be financed, the 6 cities have already stimulated the launch of more than 30 projects for a total budget reaching about 100 million euros. Each of the projects has the potential to create solutions and services that can be scaled not only to the 6 cities, but also more widely nationally and internationally. The strategy and its projects have generated dozens of press articles in Finland and abroad, with the Sojoa project gathering attention in top-tier media and being nominated for an award by the European Commission. By cooperating in network and learning from each other, 6 Acre is making cities smarter and better together.
So what we've seen is the first case study which was very emotional, and this is probably the most difficult type of case study to create. because since you're not creating it with a voiceover on top of that, you really need to get the testimonials, the feeling of people. And for that, you might need more images. The second one was more classic. Actually, it is made mostly of stock images or pictures or things that were not directly related to the project, because for one reason, you could retell that story without the proper images. You could use illustrations, but what people are following is why do we invest, what happened, and end up with the conclusion that Brussels is doing great to invest in creative industries. The third one, much more detailed, much more data-driven in that case, is only very helpful for people who are interested in that topic. We also can cover a very complex scientific or technological topic with that, so you might only attract the attention of engineers or journalists who are very interested in tech or particularly complex data-driven projects, but these people will dig into the specifics of that story and come up with much better stories in the end. What you wanted with this case study is to attract their attention, and you managed to do that. We've been seeing a great amount of case studies. I think brilliant things. We've understood as well that there are three main types of case studies, and depending on the nature of our project, we could go for an emotional case, a data-driven one, or a classic one. Once you have these parameters in hand, when you have them very much understood, you can continue the work onto building your story and making it possibly a video, because this is probably the biggest and most impactful type of communication tools we have the chance to possess at the moment, and this is what we can create thanks to that.